How's it going, guys? And to answer your question, yes, I finally started a podcast. Introducing the Cynical Den podcast. This is going to be a podcast that goes up every week on Saturday or Friday, depending on your time zone. It's going to be a lighthearted comedy podcast, a little bit less angry and less aggressive, but a lot more sardonic mockery. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Now, to get this out of the way real quick, since the podcast is going to be on a separate channel, and there are also going to be some differences between this podcast and what you generally see from a lot of other podcasts that I'll just run through right now. If you want to watch the Cynical Dead podcast, it won't be on this channel, but it will be on a dedicated channel for it, as it's not part of what I do on my main channel. Instead, it's part of the Crude Penguin content bubble. And I figured that it would make more sense to host the podcast on its own channel just to avoid clutter and to make it pretty clear that this is a separate thing that I'm doing, and that the channel itself is not going to be changed in terms of its format and what kind of videos I'm doing. So if you don't care about watching the podcast, you don't have anything to worry about. It's not going to flood the channel or anything like that. In terms of the differences, because I'm such a contrarian, such a genius, that I've got to do things differently, I actually have a lot of reasons for why the format is going to be different, so I'll just run through those really quick. The length is going to be a bit shorter than what you normally see, between 30 to 60 minutes, and it's mainly going to be that way just because I want to keep it not incredibly long, since I understand that it's a bit difficult for some people to sit there for that long. I don't really feel like I've got enough to say every week for any more than an hour, and usually it's probably going to be shorter than that. It's not going to be live, which I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, you're doing a podcast, it's not live, what the fuck is going on? There are many reasons why I'm not doing it live, namely that lots of things can go wrong. If I had a crew, or if I had someone else working with me on it, then that might be a possibility, just because you have someone to help out on that end while you focus on doing the show. But there are just too many things that can go wrong. You can make so many mistakes that are permanently there on the internet, and I'd rather have a show where I can record it, edit it, cut out the fat, cut out the empty silence, cut out coughing or anything like that, and then post the show a little bit more immaculate than it would be if it was live. There's also the issue of Australian internet, which means that at any point the stream could just stop, it could just end, for no reason other than that the internet shit itself. The third reason is also because when it comes to doing a live show, while I'm in Australia, I have to coordinate for what's best for people in the US and Europe. Because if I'm doing the show at a convenient time for me, it's inconvenient for the vast majority of my viewers. So it would require waking up incredibly early. Whereas if I do it in a non-live format, then it means that there's less of that kind of pressure to get in and watch it while it's live. That way, it goes up, people can watch it at their leisure, which I personally prefer. The final key difference between this podcast and a lot of other podcasts is that I'm the only host. It's not a roundtable podcast. It's not one with 2 or 3 or 4 people or any kind of regulars. It's just going to be me with the occasional guest every now and then when I can get them on to record it. It's not like entirely unheard of. There are a lot of podcasts that only have the sole host. I think it's just a lot of people are familiar with these Google Hangout style podcasts where you have a big round table. But when you got more people, it means you got to put a lot more effort into coordination. It means you got to coordinate with people in terms of what time they can do it. Plus, sometimes there's just drama, which I just outright don't want to have. But I would like to have some guests on from time to time. Given that they're interested in being on, that would be really cool. In terms of the kind of topics I'm going to cover, basically anything I feel like, which will include stuff that I've wanted to do for a long time, like jokes, sort of monologues about the things that happen in day-to-day life that I feel are worthy of being made fun of, just because of how many stupid things there are happening just in regular day life. Don't worry, we'll still be talking about video games, TV, movies, politics, social nonsense. The first episode is already up on the channel, which will be linked in the description if you want to go check it out. I hope you enjoy it. I'm really keen to keep this podcast going and returning every week to do a new episode. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me throughout this content droughts that keep happening intermittently. But hopefully I'll have something for you every week, at least on that channel, while I work on response videos and rants and things like that. More structured, fully fleshed out written content on this channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you over on the Cynical Den podcast channel.